the only woman the Qur'an mentions, she will enter hell, the most evil woman to ever exist, past and future. She was rich, powerful, and feared, but none of it could save her. This is the shocking life story of the cursed woman, feared even by Shaitan himself. Jamil's struggle, the war of disbelief against Islam. Watch now her untold story, because to understand the enemies of Islam today, you must first understand her. She was the first to use the same tricks that enemies of Islam still use today. She pushed her husband to reject faith and used her influence to torture the early Muslims. The story of a woman so wicked that even Shaitan would be astonished. Once again, we bring you a story that will shock you. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like the video. If you're ready, let's begin. Jamil belonged to Quraysh, one of the most powerful tribes of Makkah. Her father, Hubayr bin Umayyah, was among the respected leaders of the city. This meant Jamil was born into wealth and power. She came from a noble family, but nobility did not give her good character. From childhood, she was ambitious, arrogant, and filled with anger. At a young age, she married Abu Lahab, the son of Abdul Muttalib. Abu Lahab was one of the richest, most influential men of Quraysh. His wealth and power pleased Jamil, who loved pride, status, and luxury. Abu Lahab was a famous trader of Quraysh, and Jamil used his wealth to make herself one of the most talked about women in Makkah. But her most dangerous weapon was her sharp tongue. She wasn't a woman who relied only on her husband's wealth. She influenced other women, spread rumors, and destroyed the reputation of anyone she disliked. This gave her even more pride, but deep inside, she feared losing her power and respect. While many in Makkah were busy with trade, some were obsessed with protecting the honor of their tribe. Jamil was one of them. Her biggest concern was the status of her tribe and her husband. For her, the most important thing was the leadership of Quraysh, especially the Umayyah family. But one day, news shook Makkah. Muhammad, they declared that he was the messenger of Allah. For Jamil, this was a disaster. She knew well the Prophet's lineage. He was from Banu Hashim, a strong and respected clan of Quraysh. But if Muhammad was truly a prophet, her influence would collapse. For Jamil, the issue was never truth, it was about power and control. If Islam spread in Makkah, the old system of Quraysh would change, and her proud world would fall apart. That is why she became one of the first women to openly fight against Islam. Her husband Abu Lahab had already opposed the Prophet but Jamil's hatred went even further. She didn't just resist Islam, she used every method to destroy it. She spread lies about the Prophet mocked the believers, and tried to break their spirit. Her poisonous words echoed through the narrow streets of Makkah, the courtyards of homes, and even around the Kaaba itself. She wasn't just an enemy, she was the very source of fitna. But her real battle was only beginning. Hazrat Abu Bakr was with him, but Jamil could not see the Prophet even though he was sitting right there. Instead, she turned to Hazrat Abu Bakr and shouted, "Where is your friend? I have come to harm him!" He is the one who has divided us with his magic and lies. Abu Bakr's Raif calmly looked at her. Allah had made the Prophet invisible to her eyes, even though he was right in front of her. Jamil screamed in anger, threw the stone in her hand, and stormed away. She knew that Surah Al Masad had declared her end. But no matter how furious she became, Allah's judgment could never change. The revelation of Surah Al Masad was a disaster for Abu Lahab and Jamil. They had tried everything to stop the rise of Islam, but Allah had already written their painful end. Their hatred for the Prophet was not limited to insults and lies. Abu Lahab was one of the leaders who supported the cruel boycott against the Muslims. This boycott lasted 3 long years, bringing great suffering to the believers. But neither Abu Lahab nor Jamil could stop Islam from growing. Instead, their cruelty only led to their own destruction. Allah had already announced in Surah Al Masad that Abu Lahab would suffer eternal punishment in Jahannam, and his punishment in this world came in the form of humiliation and disease. a deadly illness spread across Makkah, and one day Abu Lahab was struck with a terrible disease. It was so horrifying that no one dared go near him. Even the Quraysh abandoned him. He died alone, suffering in pain. For years, Jamil had supported her husband and walked with him on the path of oppression. But when the time came, she even abandoned him. After Abu Lahab's death, his body was left in the open. No one wanted to bury him. In the end, a few men were paid to drag his body away. They threw him into a pit and covered him with stones. Thus, all the wealth, pride, and power they once enjoyed vanished into dust. After Abu Lahab's death, Jamil was left alone. The proud, arrogant woman who once thought she ruled over everything had now become weak and helpless. People in Makkah whispered, Surah Al Masad has come true. The curse of Allah has fallen upon her and her husband. But Jamil refused to accept her fate. She still roamed the streets of Makkah, spitting words of hatred against Islam. But as time passed, she too became weak and hopeless. According to historical reports, she also faced a terrible death. Some narrations say she was crushed under a huge stone. Others say she died strangled with a rope around her neck. The words of Surah Al Masad around her neck is a rope of palm fibre that became reality in her death. Jamil and Abu Lahab were among the greatest enemies of Islam. But in the end, they could not escape the punishment of Allah. In this world, they thought they were secure with their wealth and power. But their end was filled with humiliation, pain, and suffering. This story is not just a lesson for them, it is a warning for all disbelievers and oppressors until the day of judgment. O Allah, do not make us among those whose hearts are sealed like Abu Lahab and Jamil. Guide us to live with faith, justice, and good character upon the path of the Prophet. I purify our hearts from arrogance, jealousy, and hatred, and keep us firm on the straight path. Ameen.